Hey guys, in today's lesson I want to go ahead and continue working on graphing these sine and cosine functions with shifts, vertical, horizontal. But now we're going to add a little twist to it, okay? So this is our third video, so hopefully you're kind of getting the hang of it. But now we're going to add that little negative in the front. And remember, what happens is with this negative, it's going to reflect across the x-axis, across this guy right here, okay? So let's go ahead and do it. I think by now you guys been getting the hang of it. If not, go back to the first video and just to kind of review and refresh. But this is how you're supposed to set it up, okay, when you're graphing these trig functions, okay? So the first thing, what's our midline? Number by itself, which is 1, okay? Our amplitude is the number right next to the sign, right next to it. It's being multiplied with the sign, so it's -3. But because we're going up and down, usually sometimes your professor will say absolute value. And that's the reason why they say the absolute value, because the amplitude is the distance from the midline to the highest peak or the lowest peak. But we'll just say it's 3, okay? Ignore the -4 right now. The period, same thing. It's 2 pi over whatever's in front of the x. In this case, there's nothing. Okay, so it's going to be a 1. So we're going to have 2 pi. That means by the time I get to the end over here, it's got to be at 2 pi. So let's start over here at 0. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. So by the time I have one wavelength, one turn around the circle, I should end up at 2 pi. All right, what about these other 3 here, my 4 sections? Well, you're going to take your period, in this case 2 pi, and you're going to divide it by 4 because there's 4 sections or 4 quadrants. And that's going to give me pi over 2. So you're going to start counting off here 1 pi over 2, and then 2 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, and then 4 pi over 2, which is 2 pi. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and do our horizontal shift. So remember, whatever's inside here, you're going to set it equal to 0. So we have x minus pi over 4, set it equal to 0. We're going to solve it. That means x, if you take that negative pi over 4 to the right, becomes a positive pi over 4. Okay, great. So that means we're going to move it pi over 4 units to the right. Nice. All right. So now we can go ahead and start graphing. Okay. All right. So first thing we got to go ahead and do is start off our midline. What's our midline? 1 right here. Here's 1. So go ahead and create your new midline right here. Okay, and then after that, we can start graphing. Where are we going to start? Remember, this is sine. Sine starts on the midline. So here's my midline, my new midline. So we're going to put our, right here, there's our first point. Now, the thing we got to do, by the time I get to the first quadrant here, it's got to go up to the amplitude. What's our amplitude? It's going to be 3. So from the midline, you're going to go up 3. 1, 2, 3, right here. Then it's going to go back down to the midline, and then go back down to the amplitude. So from the midline, we're going to count down 3. 1, 2, 3, right there. Great. And then the last thing, it goes back to the midline. Great. So now we have something that looks like this. Right there. All right. And there we have it. All right. Nice. Now, let's go ahead and shift it. Okay, let's go ahead and shift it pi over 4 units. Here's a problem though. This is pi over 2. Well, how do I figure out how much I have to move it? Well, remember, you're going to have to change, now that we know, we're going to have to change these guys in terms of 4s, okay? So we're going to have to rewrite these guys so that they're pi over 4s, all right? And how do we do that? Okay, so remember, pi over 2, if I multiply the top and the bottom, that's going to give me 2 pi over 4. Okay, so let's go ahead and let me change these guys right here. Okay. So erase those. All right. So now this guy, instead of pi over 2, is going to be 2 pi over 4. This guy is 4 pi over 4. This guy is 6 pi over 4. Okay. And this guy is 8 pi over 4. Okay, so now this gives me a good reference point of how to move this guy. So now I know I got to move it 1 pi over 4 to the right. So now from here to here is 2 pi over 4. I don't need to go 2 pi over 4. I just need to go 1. So all I have to do is I'm going to go halfway. So halfway between here, I think somewhere right here. So this guy right there. This guy moves halfway from here to here. So that's going to be probably right here. And then from here to here, halfways. And then it's going to be right there. From here to here, halfway. So it's going to go right about there. And then from here to here, another 1, 2, 3, right about there, here, halfways. And remember this, if you want to keep going, you keep counting. So 2, 4, 6, 8, and then it goes right here, 1, 2, 3. This would be 10 pi over 4. Okay, so you notice how I keep the counting the same. Now, I'm going to go ahead and do a dotted line still here, okay, because we still have to reflect it, remember. Dot, 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 here, right here. So now, notice that we moved it, all right? We started with the black line, so we moved it to the right. Now, what about this negative, okay? All I got to do is flip it. So now, instead of it from here to here going up, it's going to be going down. And then from here to here, instead of being concave up, is going to flip concave down. So, well, how do I do that? Well, you just flip it. So these guys are here going to stay. So how high is here? 1, 2, 3, right? So we just kind of mimic here. We're going to go 1, 2, 3 down here. And this guy, instead of being down, is going to be up. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3 up here. So now this guy is actually going to go, let's see if I can do this nice, down and go up and here, and then come back down. And this is my answer. This is my graph. Okay, you see that? So I start off with the black line. I shifted it to the right, but then I flipped it. So this guy, instead of being concave down, it flips, and now it's concave up. Same thing with this guy. Okay, it's concave up, and then it flips and becomes concave down. All right, let's go ahead and see if we can do some more here. We'll go do a few more. Same thing with this guy. What's our midline? -2. What's my amplitude? The absolute value would actually be 2, because that's how much we're going up and down. What's my period? My period is 2 pi divided by whatever value is in front of that x. What's in front of the x? It's a 2, so we're going to take 2 pi divided by 2. That's going to give me 1 pi. So by the time I get over here, I should be at 1 pi. So start off at 0. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So I should be at pi right there. All right. Now, what about my sections here? Well, you're going to take pi, whatever your period is, divided into 4 sections. So that makes it pretty easy for me. So you're going to start off with 1 pi over 4, then 2 pi over 4, then 3 pi over 4, and then 4 pi over 4, which is pi. Great. Now what are my horizontal shift? Take this guy, set it equal to 0, and you're going to solve it. So 2x is equal to -pi. You're going to go ahead and divide by 2. X is equal to -pi over 2. What does that mean? You're going to move this guy pi over 2 units to the left. All right, good. So now we're going to go ahead and start graphing. So start off at your midline. What's it? -2. So let's see here. -1, -2 will just sit right here. Okay, hopefully it's not too kind of messy there. All right, then once we got our midline, all right, we got our quadrants here. Now let's go ahead and start graphing. Remember, this guy starts at cosine. Okay, cosine starts at the amplitude. So now right here, starts at the amplitude. So what's the amplitude? 2. So from here, we're going to go up to 1, 2, right here. Okay. And then just follow the pattern. So amplitude, midline, and then down to the amplitude. So from the midline, you're going to go down to 1, 2. Go back up to the midline, and then back up to the amplitude. So from here, from the midline, 1, 2. There it is. So you're going to get this guy, looks like this. All right. And then same thing here. All right, there it is. Now I have to go ahead and move it, right? Now there's a problem again. This is pi over 2. This is what the denominators are 4s. So what I'm going to do, okay, I'm going to change this guy into 4. Okay, so this guy, if I multiply the numerator and denominator, I should equal to -2 pi over 4. So that tells me how much I have to move this guy. So this is 1 pi over 4. So I'm going to move it twice. So this guy, let's see, 1, 2, 3 is right here. So this is -pi over 4. And then I'm going to extend it 1, 2, 3. And this is going to be -2 pi over 4. So Now that I have that, so I'm going to move it to the left because it's a negative. So this guy's going to go 2, 1, 2. Here it is right there. This guy moves twice. 1, 2. It's right there. This guy moves twice. 1, 2. It's right there. This guy 2, 1, 2. Right there. And this guy 1, 2. Right there. So now you get this guy. Looks like this. Okay. I only need one cycle, and that's perfectly fine. Okay. Great, I moved it to the left. Lastly, what do we have to do? There's a negative, right? There's that negative, we gotta flip it. So now, well, how do you do that? Well, these guys right here are gonna stay. Okay, well, actually, let me show you guys here. Let me extend this guy right here. Now, sometimes this is a little bit tricky, okay? So from the midline, let's look at it from the midline. You see how it's 2 down? So I'm gonna go 2 up. So this part is gonna be, instead of concave up, is going to be concave down. Okay, like this. Right there. And then this guy is going to go down here. Okay, so it's actually going to be down here. And then here. And then this guy is going to be down here. And then like that. So usually it's not that difficult, but you see how it's going to going up? Well, just flip it downward. Okay, and usually that helps. And just take it section by section. So take this little section, flip it down. Take this little section, flip it up. Take this little section, flip it down. All right? And of course, like always, make sure you're always checking, your answer. So let's see here. Which one can I pick? I can pick any of these. If I can pick this point here, what's that point? 0, 0, right? 0, 0. So that means when I plug in 0 for x, I should end up with 0. So let's just go ahead and do that real quick, just to make sure we're practicing here. So 2 times 0 plus pi minus 2. So 2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus pi, well, that's pi. So now you have negative 2 times cosine of pi minus 2. What is cosine of pi? Well, you have to go to your unit circle. Where's pi at? Here's your unit circle. Pi is right there. What's the coordinate there? That is negative 1, 0. What is the cosine? The cosine is the first coordinate. That's negative 1. So now I have negative 2 times negative 1 minus 2. Negative 2 times negative 1, that's a positive 2. 2 minus 2, well, guess what? Boom, gives us zeros. Hey, so we did it right. It gives us a 0. And you always want to do that just because you want to make sure you're up to date, just making sure you're doing everything right. And it actually helps you just practice your trig. But let's go ahead and keep doing some, guys. Midline here. For this problem, what is it? It's 3. Very good. What's your amplitude? Hey, there's no number there. So what is it? It's a 1. Remember, it's the absolute value. Ignore the negative. What's my period? Whatever's in front of that x. It's a 3 in this case. Okay, so it's 2 pi over 3. By the time I get over here, I should be at 2 pi over 3. We start off at 0. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So over here should be 2 pi over 3. Cool. What about these three? Take your period, divide it into 4 sections. 2 pi over 3. Now remember, dividing by 4 is the same thing as multiplying by 1/4. Okay, so that's going to give you 2 pi over 12. Which is the same thing as pi over 6. So this guy here is you're going to start off with 1 pi over 6 and keep counting. 2 pi over 6, 3 pi over 6, and then 4 pi over 6, which is 2 pi over 3. All right, now take this guy horizontal shift. You're going to go ahead and take the inside, 3x minus pi, set that equal to 0. Bring the negative pi over, that becomes a positive pi. Divide both sides by 3. You're going to get x is equal to pi over 3. Now, because it is positive, you're going to move it to the right, pi over 3 units. Well, guess what? Hey, these are in sixes, right? How do I do that? Well, I change this guy to be a 6. So pi over 3 is the same thing as 2 pi over 6. Okay? And that's how you would do it. So let's go ahead and start graphing it now. We got everything that we need. Our midline is 3. So 1, 2, 3 is over here. Dot, dot, dot. Okay. Nice and easy right there. Cool. Now what do I need? I guess we can start graphing it, right? Now remember, this is sine. Where do we start with sine? We start at the midline. Very good. So here's my midline right here. Boom. And now what do I do? Okay, now I follow the pattern. Okay, midline. Right here, we go to the amplitude. What's my amplitude? 1. So from here to here, I'll go 1. Boom. And then what? Midline. And then what? Amplitude. So from the midline, remember, it's from the midline. You go down 1. Back up to the midline. Good. So now we have this guy. All right. Here we go. All right. Nice. Now from there, what do? Okay. Our horizontal shift. We are going to move it 2 pi over 6 to the right because it is positive. So this is 1 pi over 6. That means I got to move it 2. So this guy's going to go over here. So that means this guy is going to be over 1, 2 over here. This guy is going to be 1, 2 over here. This guy is going to be 1, 2 over here. This guy is going to be 1, 2. And then this guy, 1, and I ran out of room there. Sorry, guys. See, 1, 2, 3. So this would be count 1 pi over 6, 2 pi, 3 pi over 6, 4 pi over 6, and this would be 5 pi over 6. Okay. And hate when I do that, but this is what you should get. Boom, 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 boom. Go here, and then let's see, 1, 2. Maybe I just barely got there to it. Okay. And of course, this guy over here would be 6 pi over 6. Let's see, I can just write it in there. Okay. Nice. Now, remember, last thing, what do we have to do? There's that negative. Flip it. Okay, so this guy, remember, these guys here on the midline, they're going to stay. So this guy, instead of being going down, right, is going to be what? Going concave up. So this guy's going to go actually down here. Okay, so it's going to go... Actually, it's going to go overlap with this guy, isn't it? And that's okay here. And then this guy is going to go up 1 unit down. That means we're going to go 1 unit up. And it's going to go here. Kind of like this. Okay. And there it is, guys. So this is your answer. This is your new curve right here. And of course, go ahead and keep, pick a point and check it. You can also use Desmos, desmo.com. It's a good source, and you guys can go ahead and use them to double check and see if you're graphing it right. Let's go ahead and do one more. Okay, if you want to pause the video and try yourself, go for it. But if not, follow along. Same thing. I always have this ready. What's our midline? It's 1. What's our amplitude? Ooh. Actually, let me go back. Actually, I meant to leave the 4 here, and I'm sorry. Let me go ahead and erase that because getting ahead of myself here. Okay, so this is what I wanted to show you because sometimes they put the midline in front. You see how the 2 is right next to the cosine, right? That means it's multiplying the 2 with the cosine. So that's actually my amplitude. Okay, the absolute value of that -2. My midline is actually this 4 because it's by itself. 4 is subtracting all of this here. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. So my midline is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's up here. I'll just go ahead and do it right now. Okay, so that's my midline. All right. All right, so now what's my period? It's 2 pi over b. Remember, with sine and cosine, you're always using 2 pi. Now, what's in front of the b is what's in front of the x. What's in front of the x? It's pi. Wait a minute, it looks kind of weird, kind of different. It's okay. Just keep doing the math. So it's 2. So by the time you get over here, you should get to 2. So let's do that. We start off at 0. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Cool. So by the time you end up with 1 cycle, you should end up at 2. At 2 radians. And that's okay. Sometimes you don't have that pi. So how do you figure out these other 3? Take your period divided by 4. So 2 divided by 4. Be careful. It is 1/2. So that's 1 over 2, 2 over 2, 3 over 2, and that's 4 over 2. Cool. Now, what about my horizontal shift? Take whatever's inside, pi over x. Cool. Set that equal to 0. That means we're going to divide 0 by pi. Well, that means we get 0. That means we're not shifting it either left or right. We're just going to leave it. So great. So let's go ahead and start graphing it. Remember, this is cosine. So cosine, we start off at the amplitude. So from here, right, we don't start here at the midline. We start at the amplitude. So we're going to be going up to 1, 2. Okay. And then what? Amplitude, midline. Amplitude, 1, 2, midline. amplitude. Okay. And so you would get something like this. Okay, guys. Right here. Nice and easy. Nice. All right. All right, great. We don't have a horizontal shift, so that's great. It makes my life a lot easier. But what do we do have? We have a negative right in front of that too, don't we? So we're going to have to go ahead and flip it. So how do we do that? Well, these guys are going to be staying. Okay, so this guy, this peak, instead of being up 2, is going to be down 2. And this guy, instead of being down 2, is going to be up 2. And this guy's going to stay. This guy's going to stay. And this guy, instead of being up 2, is going to be down 2. And so it's going to look like this. Okay. Now, after a while, you're doing these, you get the hang of it. You can start taking a little bit of a shortcut. But until then, it's easier if you just kind of go step by step till you master the concepts. So hopefully, guys, that helps you guys, and just keep working hard.